A very good morning to you. Of course, those in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State Capital, woke up to yourself, and of course, welcoming you officially to the morning show. It's Rise and Shine Daily. My name is Janice Kovum. Welcome once again.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom State. It's a beautiful day to be alive and a good day to rise and shine. When you make your contribution on the issues that we raised on the floor of Rise and Shine, you can do so by following us across all social media platforms, all of which you can find at spectrumtv.ng. Our phone lines will also be opened in the course in some of these issues. Good morning, and thanks for joining us once again.
All right.
Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, we are.
Good morning.
Maybe before we even look at our major stories for this morning, obviously, it's trending and everywhere is agog. People taking pictures and trying to do stuff about, the pictures of all that they have been seeing on social media. But before we get there, about 1.43 billion people. Now, that's what the United Nations said yesterday. And coming on the heels of the fact that Nigeria is trying to do a census, population census, to know the exact, amount of people that we are in the country. I think the last check were over 200 million. Now, when you're saying that India is taking over China, we know that moving forward, it's really a dire situation at this point.
Well, we just expect that, one way or the other, the leadership of the country will be able to bring up policies that will help them to generate revenue that is commensurate to the population of their country. It might be a difficult one, and we might begin to, see the likes of policies about childbirth, and all of those things be a big problem, because you're looking at the fact that you have enough manpower to get anything done in the country if just we will provide the avenues, the policies, the environment for these people to be deployed. Why don't you use the energy of the teeming youths in that, in the country to go into production, agriculture and all that? Like, sometimes it's just for someone to think and apportion the energy right, because I mean, China, to a very of their economic strength. So I believe that is something that India can handle if they have the right thinking people at the helms of affairs.
Anyways, let's not also forget that there are just a lot of suburbs in India, making it look as if there's a particular part that is suffering from a lot of poverty in India as well. Anyways, let's leave that alone and then go to this very sad story. Gunmen abduct NPC official and demand 500 million naira ransom. Obviously, I don't think it's something we should overflog, when it comes to kidnap and ransom payment. It's obvious that it has become a full-blown business in Nigeria at this point. It's quite terrible, but this is where we find ourselves as a country.
Sad one, really sad one there. And usually you think, where do these kidnappers get the impetus to request for 500 million as ransom on a person's head? For you to think that a family can generate that amount of money to be able to use as ransom, it just goes back to the fact that a lot of minds are not in the right places. We need a lot of mental reorientation. How do you want one person to produce 500 million for you as ransom? And let's never forget the Naira redesign and everything was geared towards curbing all of these kinds of things. But how much have we heard that these things, have actually stopped happening? I mean, kidnappings have still been happening, low key here and there, but we do hope that the end.
Yeah, definitely. But let's look at this flash story again, once again, before we even go to our major stories. More like, would we say that relief and succor is coming to Sudan? It says that Sudan rivals agree to nationals, and other countries trying to take their nationals out of Sudan. Yesterday, we also heard that Vincent Onyema, who is in charge of the Foreign Affairs Commission, was also saying that, of course, preparations have been made on Top Gear to make sure that, said that the owner of Peace Airlines, yes, was saying that, he's going to, obliged to give his planes to bring Nigerians for free. We would say that that is great news. But again, when we look at what is happening in Sudan, it's more like a civil war happening there. And to hear that Sudan rivals have agreed to a 72-hour ceasefire, would we say that that is kind of good news coming from Sudan?
It should be good news because number one, it's going to give room for negotiations to be made and talks to be had between the two rival army chiefs that
Yeah.
that actually sparked the issue in Sudan. And again, it also gives opportunity for nations that want to evacuate their citizens to be able to do a quick in and a quick out. It means that buses can now drive into the city centers and get people out instead, and then you're not so afraid that you might get into crossfires. So I think it's a good window, and we trust that international countries, international nations will, take in on this window and try to have talks with both yes, with both
Parties.
parties, and let's see if this 72-hour ceasefire can
And
is a
by the day,
yes.
yes.
And then you're wondering why it's such a problem, and you're seeing that it's two military factions that are fighting. Why not even come together and have talks? At the end of the day, more civilians are getting hurt
Yeah.
than even just the soldiers. Let's look at the civilian casualties that we are having. Look at some of the buildings that are being burned. How is the country going to recoup
Recoup.
after all of this is said and done? So I think the military leaders that are even in tussle with each other, they should calm down, sit down, reason things through. If we are saying we want to proceed into democracy as a nation, why not let's do that? And whatever reason why it wasn't a turmoil in the world, we are trying to handle the Russian invasion of Ukraine on one hand. Now we're seeing that Sudan is getting on fire. African leaders need to come together to try to forestall a solution in that area. It's just a little too much at this time.
Yeah.
It's just something that the two brothers can say, hey, okay, this is what we're going to do that works for both of us, and let there be peace in our country.
Yeah, situations in the country. Yesterday we talked about it, of course, saying that the president-elect on the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will return back to the country from France, where he went to rest, and he will be back yesterday evening to make sure that he's part and parcel of the whole transition process. But let's take a better perspective of this story. Of course, the president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrived Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, yesterday. Tinubu's flight touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and was welcomed by a crowd of supporters. Now, the president-elect arrived from France in the company of his wife, Oluremi Tinubu, at the presidential wing of the airport to a rousing welcome by party faithfuls and supporters who had been anticipating his arrival. The Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima was also among the supporters and top members of the All Progressives Congress who received Tinubu. Of course, he left on the 21st of March and traveled out of the country to Tinubu to rest and plan his transition program ahead of his inauguration on May 29. Tinubu lauded supporters in a latest post on Twitter, saying he was extremely excited to be back home. Now, yeah, let's just pause here at this moment and, take a breath of all that is happening. He's back, and I like the fact that there was just a whole pomp and pageantry to his coming back and all of that. He went to France on the 21st of March, and then he's back into the country to make sure that he's, of course, part and parcel of the whole transition process, and he is sworn in on the 29th of May. But of course, you know how Nigerians will definitely react to some of these things, okay? But let's just look at it from this standpoint first. Tinubu back in the country, we expect governance to start running.
One of the things that his camp has continued to, in some wise help him to be able to get the work done as soon as possible. Today will make it about 34 days now to the swearing in and inauguration of that administration. So it's good to see that the president-elect is back in the country, and we do hope he's in stable health. He's now more rested. I mean, that's the first reason we were given for his being away from the country, to rest, and be able to recoup and return for the work and the task ahead of him. Names will begin to pop up in terms of cabinet arrangements, because once May 29 comes, it means your administration has started.
Yeah.
The hands that you'll be working with had already been there from day one, because from May 29 we start counting the first 100 days in office. How is he going to be doing? What's he going to be doing differently? And the Tinubu-led administration is going to be welcomed with the whole removal of subsidy.
Yes.
That's a big one for someone to just be stepping foot into once the Buhari-led administration. Most of the blame of how that works out is going to be on Tinubu and his administration. So it's good that he's back in the country, and he's a person who gives room to a lot of think tank. So we expect that there's going to be a lot of meetings with people, stakeholders in industry, people that know the know-how of certain things, and we expect that certain notes are going to be taken as to how they are going to take over. Remember that also the president has already put together a committee, and let's have a paperwork of how transition is going to be done. Handover notes have been prepared. So we believe that in a day like this, that he's in the country, he's already beginning to go over those notes that the Buhari-led administration has made available. So we already see that in the month to his inauguration, work has already started, because it was already started. It's good to see that there were Nigerians that were excited about his coming. Of course, you will not even forget that the reaction differs in a lot of quarters. Some people are trying to raise doors that are not as excited, but some people are excited. But at the end of the day, the country must move forward, which is the most important thing at this time.
Yeah, definitely the country will move forward. But let's look at this angle again that a lot of Nigerians were actually talking about, when the news that he was coming back yesterday actually hit the internet. A lot of people criticized him for even traveling to France to stay that long in London, as his media team has said. There are places in Nigeria that you can actually go to rest if you want to rest. Okay, places like the Obudu Cattle Ranch was also mentioned. A lot of places around the country, that could afford him that kind of rest if he wanted to rest for that long. So a lot of critics have said, look, instead of
you can't tell them where they have the most joy going to rest. And let's not forget the holy month of Ramadan just finished, and the president-elect is a Muslim. He decided to observe the lesser Hajj in all of that trip. You do not also expect that you're going to force his hands. Let's not even forget that these people are elite. They've lived their lives a certain kind of way before they contested for this seat. So let's not be overly zealous when we are saying, why not come and spend your holidays at
we are talking about a country that you say you want to build. Why not use the funds that you're using to go develop the economy of another country to develop your country? Put it into your country. That is where some people are coming from.
The money he's spending on hospitality in another country is just a fraction of what he might be spending in other states, in places that that it's even employing labor, contributing to the gross domestic product of states and places. Yes, he is. If he wants to use his money for holiday in another place, you can't really blame the man for that. For one, again, we cannot even start saying it's taxpayers' money that he's using. He's using his personal money. Until he now really starts traveling as president of the country, then we can start having this argument again. But then, let's cut the man some slack and allow him to rest. He has been in Nigeria. Of course, he traveled from state to state, the 36 states campaigning. Hasn't he visited Nigeria enough, in how many days? Allowing him to travel abroad if he wants to. But going forward, when he becomes your president, maybe we can start.
Look, when you're president-elect, you should even reduce how much you travel out of the country. Work starts immediately you're being pronounced as president-elect, and not necessarily traveling out of the country. You're trying to show us that, or tell us that this is how you'll be leaving the country and leaving governance to some other person while you travel out and make, medical tourism. But again, I think that one angle that Nigerians argued about this particular travel was that the health of the president-elect was failing. And I know that there's a particular picture that trended yesterday and up until today, but we are not too sure of that picture. And that's why I will not be bringing it on, television. But again, the argument has continued to be that, President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not feeling fine. And that's why he decided, to leave the country for some medical tourism to get treatment at some point in time.
Well, his campaign council, the people, his aides, his spokesperson haven't said so. At this point, also, we must be careful of pushing and accepting propaganda on the internet with regards to the person and the health of the president. To buy all those other things. At the end of the day, we must remember that Tinubu, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has opposition. He has people that are not interested in his governance. So there's going to continue to be people in the next 4 years as he leads the country who will continue to push the health propaganda of Bola Asiwaju, at this time. So we'll just have to keep choosing, with regards to his health, what has his spokesperson said? What is his camp saying about his health? We can't really start jumping on every propaganda, with his health. That was done and maybe sufficed during the campaign. But right now, it has to be like the likes of Garba Shehu that always speaks on behalf of the president. Whoever is going to have that title in the next 4 years, whatever he says is happening to the president is what is happening to the president.
I like the angle you're coming from this morning, Uya. But again, I also like the fact that, we saw him come back yesterday, hale and hearty. And then there was also the talk of him saying, come on, I need to rest. I've had a long day. I need to rest and go eat amala. The president-elect on his arrival to Nigeria yesterday.
Our president-elect has arrived on Twitter. It's good to see that our president-elect is beginning to push forth his Twitter energy.
Yes, of course, yes.
I'm here. It's going to have a different feel, like from when it was Bola Ahmed Tinubu tweeting on Twitter.
Yes.
Now it is the president-elect that is tweeting. So there's going to be more energy around. I don't think I follow that account on Twitter.
Okay, so that's his tweet. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He says, "I am extremely excited to be back home and deeply humbled by the warm welcome I received on my return to Abuja today. Thank you all for your love and support. Our promise to deliver a nation of renewed hope for all Nigerians remains in motion." I think we'll just wrap it up on this particular note where a promise to deliver a nation of renewed hope for all Nigerians is still in motion. When we look at even the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm happy that one of our guests raised that, opinion yesterday when he was trying to review the 8 years of Governor Dom Emmanuel's administration. That when we come to a point where we are putting round pegs in round holes, that is where we'll see the economy drive properly. When we come to a point where we begin to put square pegs in square holes, not necessarily looking at where the person comes from, the whole tribal bigotry is not there. That means that the country is actually moving forward. And according to our guest, Bola, any other tribal religion, so for him, renewed hope is what he is offering to Nigerians. And we hope to see in the next 4 years how that will span out. It will span out first in the kinds of people that he has as his cabinet structure. It will pan out in terms of the kinds of policies that they dish out. Remember that we've always talked about the fact that policies in Nigeria are not people oriented. And as well, let's also look at, of course, they've outlined, this particular administration have outlined some things that the president-elect will be stepping his foot into, and which is the fuel subsidy removal. Let's see how that will be handled. We also have the National Assembly leadership issue. Let us also see how that will be handled. And I think most especially the issue of federal character principle in terms of appointments into particular positions. Let's see how that will also span out. And I think that's one major area where a lot of stakeholders in this country have urged the president to do is to reunite us across ethnic divides. Okay, now let's not target, or the non-indigens in Lagos were more like a target, and it caused a lot of rift, whether we like to believe it or not. So let's see how that can also be worked on by the president-elect. So there's just a whole lot waiting for Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to hit the ground running when it comes to Nigeria.
There's a lot to do, and especially when you're arriving, it's more like a presidency that is going to be there in an attempt to prove itself to Nigerians.
Exactly.
On all fronts, there's going to be a lot more Nigerians waiting to see how poorly you are going to perform so that we can say we told you so, and there's those that say, okay, we believe that this is the man for the job,
Yeah.
he has what it takes. Tinubu has been pegged the diplomat, someone who knows how to put the right person for the right job. He's been said to be someone who knows how to harness the energies around him. So it's just fingers crossed at this
Yeah.
time when it comes to hope. That's a lot of promise for Nigerians.
True.
Because we are absolutely at the place where we've lost hope and trust in the state of Nigeria, because for the longest time people will say that the state of Nigeria has failed. Does the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu have what it takes to start putting us on a path to renewed hope? Because we are like baseline right now. You have to start having conversations across all sectors to bring Nigerians out. With certain policies and certain things that have been done in the last couple of years, we've seen that more Nigerians have fallen beneath the poverty line. We're also looking at the fact that you need to bring up initiatives, policies, environmental friendly policies that makes it possible that these people that crunched into the poverty line are able to come out. Insecurity is still a major problem in the country. We can't even put a blanket over that. We need to see a new style of willpower of the president to be able to exert certain changes with regards to insecurity. Is Tinubu going to be different? Let's not even forget that Tinubu is coming under the same APC umbrella. So is it going to be same old, or is the energy of a Tinubu going to be different for the country? Renewed hope is a lot of promise. Yeah. We are talking about the fact that fuel subsidy is coming. IPMAN and the Association of Petroleum Marketers are saying we need forex to be available 6 to 8 weeks before the subsidy is removed. Are these things that Tinubu rather can think through and make possible? Let's not forget the guest we had yesterday was talking about the fact that in Akwa Ibom, for instance, they tried to foster some things that would have made the Udom Emmanuel administration different as civil society organizations, but he gave them, paid no attention to them, gave them no heed. Will we see that Tinubu becomes the person who gives heed to certain people that are not in his inner circle or his cabinet, but then can receive their reports and their reviews, take out what is needed to help run the country? Because no one person knows it all for the country.
Yeah.
If we are saying we want to renew the hope of Nigerians, then you must receive a collective input as to how that is going to be done. Nigerians must tell you where it pinches the most. Those are places that you get the 6 states of the country, and you start giving us railways where we do not even have people that can afford to get on the trains. So these are some of the things that we need to look at. Cabinet structuring is very important. Yeah. People, like you keep talking about, round
pegs and round
holes.
Yes.
Now we really do need people in these positions that know what to do.
Of
not
course,
compensatory
technocrats.
Appointment. Yes, not compensatory appointment. Oh, I saw how you carried out the whole Tinubu campaign. You did so well. You delivered your unit.
Your quota. Yes, you delivered your
unit. So come and take one appointment. It shouldn't be that.
True.
If you're having a minister for agriculture, for instance, it should be someone who's hands-on on the work, knows what agriculture entails in life, under a lot of fire. INEC needs a total overhaul. Now that is going to be something that the Tinubu administration has to also do. Is he going to be willing to look into that institution called INEC going forward? How are we going to elect or appoint the INEC chairman and Rex? So there's a lot of work for him to do.
Yeah, definitely
when
a
they
lot
say
of
that
work.
he needs to hit the ground running, literally he needs to hit the ground running.
And just to put things to wrap up, I know that this particular administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be very, very criticized by a lot of Nigerians, coming from the background of how the presidential elections went and even the totality of the 2023 elections. So whatever it is that the incoming administration is going to be doing, let them also give room for Nigerians to talk, because of course we bring you daily spotlight. And don't forget, today, 25th of April, is World Malaria Day. Just stay with us.
Good morning, Nigeria. Year after year, they have informed, educated, and entertained us. When you needed information, knowledge, or an escape.
From generation to generation, the Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now, this service will finally be recognized.
Come May 17th this year, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather at a hotel and suites for the maiden edition of the Nigerian Broadcasting Awards 2023. Visit www.tnbawards.ng to vote now. They've served and they're still serving. It's time we say thank you. This award is organized by the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, Bonn.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the
invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in court examination.
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. for Legally Speaking. One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigerian for Spectrum TV to improve 45 seconds to counting.
A very good morning to you and welcome to your morning news brief on Spectrum. Live from Uyo, I am Mary Joseph. We begin this morning with the report that President Muhammadu Buhari will depart Abuja today for Accra, Ghana, to attend the third extraordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, convened by President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana. A statement signed by his spokesperson, Femi Adesina, said Buhari will participate and deliver remarks at the high-level discussion on strategies for strengthening peace and security in the fight against maritime-related crimes in the region. Away from that, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has confirmed plans to evacuate over 2,000 Nigerians in crisis-hit Sudan this morning. This came in a separate development. The valedictory meeting of the 36 state governors of the Federation will be held on Wednesday, April 26, 2023 in Abuja. This is according to an invitation to all the 36 governors issued by the Director General of the Nigerian Governors Forum, Ashishana Akaru. The meeting will bring to an end the championship of Aminu Tambuwal, the Sokoto State Governor, who assumed leadership of the forum following the expiration of the tenure of former chairman and ex-Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi. On the foreign scene, the United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that Sudan's warring generals had agreed to a 3-day ceasefire after previous bids to pause the conflict quickly disintegrated. Blinken said in a statement 2 hours before the truce was to go into effect that the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces have agreed to implement a nationwide ceasefire. And finally, in sports, Tottenham has fired interim manager Christian Stellini after chairman Daniel Levy branded Sunday's 6-1 defeat at Newcastle wholly unacceptable. Conte's long-term assistant won only one of his 4 games in charge, dealing with appears a fatal blow to Spurs' chances of Champions League football next season. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news at 12. I am Mary Joseph. Let's get back to Rise and Channel. We have Janice and Uyai on standby. Do have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
Disasters being Lagos, Nigeria for Spectrum TV to recover 40 lives in St. County.
Aquabomites, Dakada, rise to the faith of greatness. Ami Merakanda.
Rise to the faith that with God all things are possible. Rise to the faith that Aquaibom was created by God out of greatness.
Rise to the faith that as a people we can move beyond biases.
Ethnicity, religion and gender, rise to togetherness. Resources beyond what others see.
Human and intellectual, rise to chart a new course for us.
Our children and our generation of Aquabomites unborn.
Rise to the faith that one day we shall be counted as a great people.
That all things are possible and many more.
Hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for He who promised is faithful.
Rise to the faith that Aquaibom was created to be great.
Rise to the faith that Aquaibom is destined to be great.
Rise to the faith of greatness.
Make you know sit down, make you do your work here, make you know it all. Make we make a quiet
Africa, rise to the faith of greatness.
I'm in Medakanda.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Rise and Shine, and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. We just returned from the news brief desk where we had Mary Joseph bring us tidbits of global news. And just before we went in that, we looked at the fact that the president-elect Bola Asiwaju Tinubu has arrived in Nigeria. We also looked at a couple of flash news, the issues happening in Sudan and the evacuation of citizens from all nations of the earth as are concerned. Several other issues happening on the front burners. At this time, we'll be moving straight onto our daily spotlight. We'll bring you news of things happening on the front pages of the national dailies.
On Daily Spotlight this morning, we look at most of the stories that we have on the front pages of our national dailies. And we'll start this morning with Nigerian Tribune. Of course, the major story there says NAS leadership zoning on the cards as Tinubu returns. And we have the writer as, I am strong, ready for task ahead, he says. New Dawn group emerges in rep speakers race. We also have that story there on page 15 and 16 of the Nigerian Tribune. Moving forward, panic in Abuja as communal clash claims won. That story can be found on page 27. Youths bury man alive in Benue over claim he used thunder to kill his own son. Oh, children's diapers. Oh, yeah, I don't know if you saw that story.
Yeah.
And let's look at some other things that, the Nigerian Tribune is saying. Gunmen attack 5 communities in Plateau, 12 killed. NNPCL protects 3,650 megawatts from Ajaokuta Kaduna Kanu gas pipeline project. On Sudan, evacuation of over 2,000 dies in kidnappers' den. That's all that we have on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
Okay, move straight on now to the Punch newspaper. And the front page of the newspaper says Tinubu returns after 34 days, dismisses ill health rumors. Ignore ill health rumors. I will assemble strong team and hit the ground running, says President-elect. President-elect, APC National Working Committee to meet lawmakers elect over NAS leadership. We also see here Sudan conflict. Ethiopia blocks fleeing Nigerian students. Factions agree 72 hours ceasefire. Federal government knocks students for ignoring warning against self-evacuation. Page 8 is where you can find that story. NGF holds valedictory session for 17 outgoing governors. Page 9. Ondo farmers raised the alarm over herdsmen attacked. Page 5 is where you can find that story. Lagos Stadium, from West Africa's best to national shame. Page 3. We also have here 8 states got zero investment in 4 years, says reports. Page 24 is where you can find that particular story. And
Look at what the Vanguard newspaper has to say this morning. It says that the big story says Sean rumors Armstrong, Tinubu refreshed, ready for task ahead. Party leaders to meet soon on zoning of officers. Fish importation. We also have 40% pay rise, varsity workers on warpath with federal government over exclusion. Moving forward now, we also have again court dashes Nigeria's air hope of flying. Abducted Kogi monarch dies in kidnappers' den. We have that 3 kids from France in Abuja. And that's all that we have on the front page of the Vanguard.
About my health, I am refreshed, ready for task ahead. Nigerians are glad to see you back and fit, says Barrow. FYE. 5 big banks stand firm despite economic headwinds. Hold combined total assets of 58 trillion naira and 1.1. Okay. Afenifere, resurgence of terrorism after 2023 polls worrying. President to launch network against crime in Gulf of Guinea leaves for Accra today to attend the Maritime Security Summit. Enugu cover the stories that we have in the front page of this day newspaper.
Okay, let's look at our very next paper. That will be the Daily Sun. What does Daily Sun have for us this morning? The big story here says Osmain Yara opens up on Tinubu, Alpha Conde and Guinea. And of course, the writer of that story says throws light on president-elect's link with Guinea. I think that's a major concern. I know that story actually trended, when David Hundein came out with the whole story of Tinubu not being fit to become the president and shouldn't be sworn in, as the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, owing to the fact that he also has a dual citizenship. He carries, a citizenship card of Guinea. And for David Hundein, that's more like against, the code of conduct. Is saying that there's more light thrown on that particular issue here. You can find details of that story on page 6. Moving forward, gunmen kill 7 in Plateau as herdsmen militia kill 4 mourners in Benue State. Quite sad stories. Enugu Governor-elect Mba names Chioke, Alba, Onya, Nebo, 60 others for transition committee. Page 27 is where you get details of that story. Petrol price increased by 42.63% a litre in 1 year, says MBS, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Governors hold valedictory meeting for 17 outgoing members. Page 26 is where you get details of that report. Moving down to Imo State, Imo Guba State's Joint Parliament endorses Uzodimma. Page 26 is where you get details of that story. And of course, the big story across all national dailies this morning: Tinubu returns after 34 days abroad. And that's all that we have on the Daily Sun.
Definitely all that we have on our papers today. Also, but big news across all the papers is the president-elect assuring us that the rumors about his health is false, and that he's fit a fiddle for the work.
Yeah.
Like we said, we just have to take his words for it. And like you raised an eyebrow over the trending picture that cannot be brought on air, would have to trade carefully. But then if he says he's ready, let's see how that is going to turn out.
Yeah.
Of course, we already see that he has a meeting slated with Nancy led to iron out the whole it's my turn for the seat of the first man in the North. So that is going to be some work for him to get done right there.
Of course, he has said he is strong and very strong, not just strong, but very strong. In the conversation, we love to hear from Nigerians. What is your own side of the story to all that is happening in the country, as to all of the things that we have brought to you via our national dailies this morning? Or you can also send us a text message or a WhatsApp message, whatever way you feel comfortable to do. Please do that. We need to hear from you. Well, yeah, I think this particular issue is one that we have touched a little bit, after the whole election process. I think it was felt that there was no insecurity issues. We didn't have the issue of there's kidnapping somewhere, there's killings this way and all of that during the election. It looked as if everything had time and criminality across the country, and the whole banditry thing happening again, all over again. Are these people back from wherever they went to? Did they go resting as well, and they have returned to work? It's quite worrisome to see that insecurity after the elections has reared up its ugly head again.
If you remember the conversation we had with Dr. Getso Yahoza, he had mentioned that banditry or insecurity is a political tool, and he had also raised our awareness and called us to pay attention to the fact that during the entire campaign season and electioneering season, there seemed to have been no stories of insecurity as much, but then he had actually said look out for the seasons following post-election, that you're going to begin to see these things come up again. He talked about the fact that politicians use this insecurity as a tool, one against the other. So it will not be, from that perspective, it will not be surprising to see the turn of events that we've seen. Several abductions have happened in Kaduna just after the elections, and several other issues. But one would think, why? What's the motive behind
the
that?
Rationale behind it coming back?
Yes. What exactly are you hoping to achieve at this time, when people felt like, okay, we could sleep again? Whoever is the mastermind, the brains behind this banditry, what exactly do they hope to achieve in the country by this unrest? It doesn't go to count for anything, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. And I think, like you said earlier on, that's one major sector of the economy, of the Nigerian economy, that the government must be looking at even as they hit the ground running. I'm happy that the president-elect has said he is strong and very strong, and that work is going to start in earnest. I think from the news brief, he's built to be in Accra maybe today or so, of course, to meet with other heads of government, which means that for him, work has started already. And so we are going to be expecting that as he takes up the saddle of leadership, he sits on the saddle of leadership, would see to a large extent how he can deal with the insecurity issues that we have. Will it reduce to embarrass minimal, or will continue to have these kinds of things happen? Yes, we can sleep with our two eyes closed. And let's not also forget that insecurity, talking about insecurity, it's how would I put it now? Like more like distracts the nation and scares away prospective investors from coming into the country.
That's true.
So if we are saying that, we are agitating for something, I think we should come to the drawing board. We should come to a dialogue table where we say, this is what we're agitating for. Yeah. This is what we want. And see how government can have dialogues and try to we can actually solve this problem, or just give us a little bit more time and see how we will handle this, or like you'd always say, government meets them halfway, and they also meet government halfway, on the negotiation table, and not necessarily killing people and using the lives of people as bait. But that's it on that's a story on insecurity in the country. Interesting stories on here. We also see that Sudan, the story in Sudan, evacuation of over 2,000 Nigerians via Cairo begins today. Yes, in support of air peace there. Helping to bring back these people. And then we also have a situation where of course the government was saying 5,200 or 5,500 people will be evacuated via road through Egypt and all of that. So I think it's a good news. It's good news coming from there, showing that a lot of private individuals also are stepping up, to also help government in one way or the other. Let's not forget that the country is all that we have at this point in time. So whatever it is, little thing that you can do, to help cushion effects of whatever people are going through is always.
Private persons can also contribute. We push us further as a nation. But a story of the front page culture events, or it's going to be a place where we can now just turn to do only religious events and the likes. So maintenance is a big problem. Now I believe that this story on the front page of the Punch should actually call the federal government, if that stadium is in the catchment area of the federal government or the state government, whoever is supposed to be saddled with the responsibility of maintaining that facility should wake up before it gets worse than it currently is.
Yeah, seriously.
Of course, it's also a source of revenue generation.
Yeah.
If we have more, sporting activities coming to Nigeria because we have stadiums that are fit, then we would also be making they'll be making money from the sports sector and entertainment, as it were. But so we are not even bothered about the world to do sports in.
I think it's quite a sad story, Uyai, that we do not have that maintenance culture. And that still boils down to the fact that a lot of governments do not see politics or governance as continuity, and they just want to come because this past administration had done this and left at this level. You have a different policy. All of what the other person had done before, it would go a long way. But maintenance culture in this country is one thing that has eluded us totally, and it's quite sad to see, and I think we were talking about something yesterday or so. I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but again, it's a sorry situation that we are finding ourselves in this kind of places. Let me even say, why not complete something that had started before, and all of that. And yes, I just remembered what I wanted to say now. Yesterday we were talking about the fact that the entertainment industry has become very viable and is one that is driving the economy of Nigeria to a great extent. And why is it happening so? Because there is little or no government interference in all of this. Viable if the government has actually maybe partnered with some private organizations, to do some of those things. But because it is left to government to do, we find the stadium you're talking about in dilapidated shapes, and that's not the only stadium that we can say is crying out for help, crying out for rehabilitation and all of that. You check across the country, which stadium would we say that we have that will bring in foreign bodies to come do their sporting events? Nigeria cannot even host the World Cup. Nigeria cannot even host the African Cup of Nations. Why? Because we do not even have the facilities. And when we even say we have little facilities, how do we cater for these facilities? We just leave them in very deplorable shapes and boost the economy as well. Just as
the fact that we even have very talented people.
Very talented, just like the entertainment industry is doing for us. So it's quite a pity, and we hope that
I think something else with regards to that is the fact that let's even look at the possibility that those that are managing these stadiums, let's not even forget that there's a possibility that the minders of these stadiums might have written a report to the state government or the federal government. Oh, we think the facility is failing in this area and in this area. This is the we need to do. But then there's also the possibility that these reports and these quotations have been submitted, and someone just looks at it and feels like, oh, this is a waste. We really do not need to put in money and maintain. Because if you're looking at maintenance, let's say the roof of the entire stadium is bad and they need to fix, some places trade, so thing will be better. Just like our guest was saying, that a state government has no business running a business, So do the things that are most important. We just hope that we can have more people that can be hands-on with certain things in this country. Let's free to join the conversation. Our phone lines are displayed on your screen. You can send us WhatsApp messages. You can engage us on YouTube if that's where you're watching from, or on Facebook. And absolutely, we will take your contributions on these issues. But a lot of things happening there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as we even begin to wound up on this particular segment, I think one story that calls for attention is the federal government's 40% pay rise arrears, for federal government workers. And yesterday we touched a little bit on that story. I don't know exactly where I saw it, but some group like the
National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives.
And I think, is that just the only group now? I think teachers somewhere. I saw teachers somewhere. Years for civil servants under the federal government. Why not make it in such a way that it cuts across board? Why remove a particular sector from the whole payment? And I know that the midwives and nurses were of the opinion that, look, you're complaining that people are leaving the country, health personnel are leaving the country for better living and better prospects, and here you are having a situation where
asking, they've had their papers out asking for salary increment since 2019, and here comes 2023,
an opportunity.
Yeah, and it's just easy for you to increase, we know we're talking about the financial, what it means for the nation. But then if you're going to do the work, do it well. Because which sector is giving you inputs that another sector is not giving? For instance, like what you just cited, our health sector is crying because of brain drain.
Yes.
The easiest way for you to have spiked interest in the area is that 40% salary increase has come for people who are still here in the process. Why do you sideline them? And then you now imagine all other agencies that do. 40% is quite commendable, and if we do it across board, we will see that some sectors, people will settle down and get the work done.
Yeah.
So it's not it's an ill-advised implementation of the 40% increment.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point now we'll just take a very, very short breather, and when we come back, of course, our focus conversation will be tilted to the labor break. Do stay with us.
Every society is premised on the patients thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Yekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Welcome back. This is still Rise and Shine, and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Several conversations have already gone on, and you can catch up on all that following us across all the social media platforms. At this time, we'll be going into our focus conversation, and the Labour Party, since after the announcement of the presidential and gubernatorial election results, has been thrown into a rather unexpected bout of leadership problems, and just when we thought that was going to be given a rest, new things are still arising. To have the conversation looking into the deepening leadership crisis in the Labour Party, we have joining us virtually this morning Obong Engineer Udo Kingsley Akpan, MNSE, member, National Mobilization Directorate. Lady, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Is it Kano or Abuja? What's your location here live?
Oh, Abuja is calm. The weather here is quite bright and it's not cloudy. It's cool.
Okay, so let's get into the main conversation now. Labour Party, a lot of Nigerians have said that Labour Party has become the major opposition party, coming like a third force and even overshadowing the People's Democratic Party. But it seems that there's just a whole lot of problems arising in your party as we speak. The leadership torso, we have Julius Abure, who was the national chairman at a time, and then we had the group that said, oh, he was involved in anti-party. He was set aside by the court. And then we had Lamidia Papa also come to take over the mantle of leadership in the Labour Party. But it seems that there's still a lot of this.
All right, thank you for this opportunity given to me. Basically, we all know that Labour Party has become a beautiful bride, and it's expected that you see a lot of students coming around, flocking around the bride. And Labour Party, as you target to be a third force, what you see happening within the party is expected, and talking about the leadership tussle, I for one will not say that the leadership tussle. Basically, there are some infractions being done wrongly by the national chairman, of which a court of competent jurisdiction, FCT High Court, gave an asking him to stop parading himself alongside 3 others as national officers pending the case before the courts. And that restraining order was done. And knowing fully well we have 3 deputy national chairmen, 2 from the south and 1 from the north. And Alaji Lamidi Bashiru Apapa, who happens to be the most senior among the 3. Of course, you don't expect a vacuum to be in such an office where the court are giving the restraining order. So Papa had to come in and oversee the affairs of the party pending the dimension of the case in court.
Okay, then something else that is a matter of concern is when we are looking at intra-party rivalry. Is it not something that is meant to be addressed by the NWC and the Helms people at the Labour Party address, and not the Labour Party family, as it were? Because it looks like, remember, I think there was 2 weeks ago, we had the NLC actually storm Abuja, the headquarters, where you have the Labour Party headquarters, and insisting that they wanted Abure to resume his activities as party chair. And when you're also saying that Abure's activities were questioned by the court, what are these activities that the court saw it and deemed fit that they should stop parading themselves as national officers? But first of all, wasn't that an issue that was meant to be sorted intra-party?
Yeah, that's the truth. Most times when you have issues like this, and issues like this basically are meant to be resolved in-house. But where it has to do with an external person who is not a member of the NWC, you understand? Because the travail being undergone by our national chairman, Barrister Julius, that individual sought to take his matter to court. But we are finding ways to see internally how we can address that matter. But the point is, people feast on issues like this, and they want to make it a very big issue and headline in the news. And what the NLC president came to do was a solidarity visit to Aburi, contrary to the directive of the court. But I think in that same the orders, the two orders, the one in Benin and one in FCT High Court, is actually talking about, so that at least let them throw more light on these two orders of the court. Because the one in Benin is saying restraining any court from suspending Aburi. And this other one in FCT is saying that Aburi should stop parading himself. You understand? I wouldn't want to go into the nitty-gritty of the matter before the Honorable Justice, Hamza Muhazu. I wouldn't want to go there because that matter is already in court, and I wouldn't want to discuss that, if you don't mind. But we're trying to see how best we can resolve those issues out of court. Of course, the last adjourned date, which is on the 20th, the National Secretary of NLC was there, and he was trying to talk to both parties to how they can best resolve these issues out of court. I think that's the next adjourned date is on the 12th of May. So let's see how that plays out.
Okay.
There's a question I wanted to ask with regards to that cannot skip my mind at all. Okay, that particular question has skipped me. We are looking at so some of the postulations with regards to the infractions that we're beginning to experience is our brainchild. It's our baby. It's a party. We want to defend its cause, and we will not allow, like we would say in other quarters, unscrupulous elements from other parties to begin to put confusion in our midst. Now there's been allegations and postulations that we are having people coming in from other parties just to be in an attempt to destabilize what we've begun to see as a stabilized front of the Labour Party. Are these inferences that you also tilt to at this time?
Yeah, just like I said, there are these speculations, there are actually speculations that the man, Alhaji Lamidi Bashiru Apapa, is being fronted by some persons or by enemies. I've actually sat with him. I've actually had conversations with him and his team. And I can tell you that if you sit with a man called Lamidi Apapa, you will know that of the truth. He only came to fill in that gap, that vacuum which, by the pronouncement of the court, you understand, would have created a vacuum. And being the second ranking, highest ranking member after the national chairman, you understand, it is his responsibility to come in and perform his duty. As of that time, we would have had issues of not able to fill in candidates for the 3 states that were about having elections in November, the gubernatorial elections in Kogi, in Bayelsa, and Imo State. You understand? Because in that period that they were supposed to carry out screening of the candidate of the aspirants and conduct the party primaries. You understand? So I think Apapa came in at a very good time. Just like I said, this issue is before the court, and until the court say otherwise, you understand, Apapa is meant to act, pending when the court decides to lift his or vacate that order which he has initially instituted. I want to tell people that nobody has infiltrated the Labour Party, and if there were any such thing, basically is some of these governors whom the elections are to be held in November, as I said, in Bayelsa, in Imo State, and in Kogi State, who sponsored candidates, or sorry, some person show them the exit door. You understand? Because these things happen. Political parties sponsored candidates, even within your party, to kind of obtain the nomination form, so that when it gets closer to the period of election, you see them stepping aside, that they can no longer carry on to the polls. You understand? And thereby making the party not to have a candidate for that election. So, but we're able to discover those moves and
Imo State Guba crisis that happened, in Imo State, two factions bringing out two different gubernatorial candidates and conducting primaries, along parallel lines. But another thing is, the question I'm going to be throwing at you this morning is, where has all of this leadership tussle, left the party as we speak? We also see that Lamidi Apapa at some point also was also alleged of playing anti-party, and he was shown that the
politicians are very good people and very terrible people. They always want to have their way in everything they do. And the Labour Party is not the kind of party that most of them have the competence, have the capacity, and they have the character, So these are people we actually look out for. And when we saw these characters in these principles in some of these aspirants as of then, now candidates, we had to just do our homework and ensure that we get a more credible person that can hold the party flag in that state. Talking about Imo State, we had issues in Imo State where two candidates emerged. Based on these issues that are being instituted by the court judiciary, which has become a problem, restraining Abure, from parading himself. He had his own team, which he actually set up to conduct these primaries. And when Apapa came, he actually had his own team he set up to conduct this primary. And that is where they were able to have that issue of two candidates in the state. But when we say it's expected, as I said earlier, that such things are emanating, and it only to make the party more stronger. And it has happened in other parties, even in PDP, in APC, it do happen. When Oshomole was asked by the court to step aside, even in PDP, our mistakes, and that will help in uniting us. Apapa
go ahead, sir.
About Apapa, as I said, Apapa is he has been a national vice chairman, and now he's only acting because of the restraining order given by the court. You understand? And he's doing just fine. He's not this kind of person who brags around or who is the one to be seen. You understand? All of the time. He's this kind of person that is calm. So I haven't stayed with him for a couple of days. I can tell that he's just fine.
So as we speak now,
telling anybody that he's the national chairman, he's just an acting capacity.
Is his party?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know that. As of Thursday, that was the last I joined it, being 20th of April. They were in court, and the court still restrained the national chairman and the three others. So, and that matter has been adjourned to 12th of May. So, not until that order is vacated, Apapa will be active, because there should not be a vacuum in that process.
Okay. So something else I'd like to find out is the fact that, in terms of speculation, because this is a good avenue now to clear up certain speculations that are surrounding the Labour Party as a result of this leadership crisis, quote and unquote. Now, we know that the Labour Party has come off as highly dissatisfied with the process of the just concluded presidential election, and we know that the petition is already in court. Your principal Peter Obi and all of his constituents have moved to the court, as was advised by the chairman of INEC. But then we are looking at the fact that speculations are saying these activities, these leadership tussles here and there, could this be an active attempt at distracting the party, at putting together the energy that is needed to, head to court for the tribunal? Do you think this is going to be a distraction for the move to regain the stolen mandate?
If you know my principal well, His Excellency Mr. Peter Gregory B is a man who is firm, a man who is very determined, a man who is very focused, a man who will not allow himself to be distracted. You understand? Just like I said, this the process to reclaim our student mandate is on, and we're unwavered. We're not shaking, and we know that they say the hope of a common man lies in the judiciary. So we want to believe that the honorable justices who are sitting at that panel in the tribunal, the Court of Appeal, which are served as the tribunal, will do justice in this case. You understand? And those frivolities in bringing in technicalities. So the party being a second plaintiff in this matter is not to start at all, because our lawyers go to the court, to the tribunal.
Okay, still on the march of regaining stolen mandates and all of that. But let's come down a little bit to something that happened some months ago. Of course, in the build-up to the off-season elections in Imo, Bayelsa, and other states that will be experiencing off-season election on the 11th of November. We see that the Labour Party actually pegged its gubernatorial ticket for 25 million, and then afterwards there was a review and it was slashed down to 15 million. Now, I know that this came with a lot of criticism, especially from the obedience movement, because when we go back to in time to even when the elections started, you know, I think the party ticket was free of charge. There were people that, you know, just went free of charge for different positions. But coming to see that, oh, finally, the Labour Party has built a little bit of structure, and then we are having to pay a whooping 15 million naira for Guba tickets. What would you say was the reason for this change?
I'll tell you that our principal, His Excellency Mr. Peter Gregory B, when he was in PDP, if you can remember, the presidential form was sold for 40 million. While he's president of the Federal Republic, he will try to sit with the leadership of the party and see how best this cost of where young people will not be able to afford this money to acquire a nomination form. You understand, or purchase a nomination form, thereby shutting the doors for the young people. You know, a couple of years ago, this not too young to wrong bill was signed into law by His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari. And if that is anything to go by, you'll find be distracted and deprived from getting into the political space. So when eventually came into the Labour Party, or before then he came into the Labour Party, you know, to enable Labour Party fill-in candidates into political offices, elective offices, you know, they actually.
Oh, I think network is on the way, but serious concerns. I'm happy, you know, that to a large extent the Labour Party is beginning to see how they can, you know, look into their personal matter and try to see how they can also solve the issues, you know, around the Labour Party crisis, the leadership crisis. But a good thing that the whole crisis, which is also witnessed in other political parties, you know, is not something that would stall their chances at the, you know, tribunals as well. It's not a major distraction, it's a good one. But thank you so much, Kings.
Okay, just like I was saying, you know, the simple economies have to play out. You know, when there is a high demand, certainly the price will go up. You understand? And that is why the party NWC sat and decided to charge for 25 million. And because P2B is man who demonstrates what he says, he's not the kind of person who speaks from both sides of his mouth. You know, he had to intervene and ask the party leadership to reduce the cost of the form. You know, most especially when one of the aspirant purchased the form and died the day after. You know, so they felt that as a mark of condolence for the family, for the deceased and the family, you know, that the form, the money he paid, which was 25 million, should be refunded back to the family of the deceased who actually bought the nomination form prior before his death, his demise, unfortunately, and reduced the cost of the form from 25 million to 15 million. You understand? So he's actually preaching, doing what he preaches. You understand? And I can attest. You know, life is quite difficult and very, very difficult. A lot of families find it very difficult to feed. You know, so somebody who aspires to lead his people to cough out such a open sum of 25 million at this very critical time, in just to purchase a nomination form, I think it's quite high. So, being a good leader he is, he decided to step into this and have a discussion with the party and see how that amount can be slashed to 15 million, which is quite appreciable.
But you know, a lot of obedience will tell you, if you're looking at a situation where a lot of young people can cash in on the opportunity to aim at governance and, you know, gain political positions, they'll tell you that 50 million is still too much. Wouldn't it stall their chances? You have mentioned the not too young to run bill, and we know that election and politicking in Nigeria is quite expensive. So I think that the whole idea of lots of young people, you know, queuing behind the likes of Peter Obi was because of some of the tendencies that was displayed, like going vying for offices free of charge. So when we begin to peg prizes, doesn't it stall the chances of these young people?
It doesn't, because there are other offices they can actually aspire for. Like, for instance, you must go for a contest for the position of the governor.
Are there no prizes to the tickets of these positions? Are there no prizes to the tickets of these positions?
That's what I'm telling you now. The prize is not up to even 10 million. You understand? I will tell you that they would not only peg a price tag or nomination form for State House of Assembly and House of Reps. You understand? Just like I said, those who contested, most of them just paid little money or no money and got the party ticket, as it were. You know, but right now, as I said, no party has become a beautiful bride. And you know, it costs money to run the party. Like this matter in courts, in tribunal, you know, we pay our lawyers to appear in court. You understand?
Because
and
that was a question I was going
to
come to. Yeah, that was a question I was going to come to, because most times, just to allay the concerns of people like the obedience now that are saying, oh, why are you now putting a price tag on your nominations? I know usually the conversation is with the exorbitant indication of interest at 100 million naira. How do people raise 100 million, and what does the party do with 100 million naira cut across the number of persons that buy that particular form? So I like the fact that you're already delving into explaining what the generation of these funds via nomination forms does for the party, and I think it will help some of the obedience to lay rest to.
Yeah, most of our offices, even our national secretariat in Abuja, is a rented building, and of course, you know how much it costs to rent such a building in the heart of Abuja, Kentucky. You know, so it actually costs money, and that money will not be coming from the national chairman's pocket. It's from this money gotten from sales of the nomination funds that will actually use in running that office, and the cost of running the office too. You know, the daily runnings of the office require money, and our legal team has to be put on the payroll. You know, so these are ways where this money is being expended. So it's expected that the obedience should understand that even you, as an individual running your home, it costs you money. You know, fueling your car, going out every day, even your airtime, your data, and all of that, it costs you money. You understand? Not on top of the party, you know, and they should understand that you must not go for the position of the governor. You understand? You can aspire House of Reps, senatorial nomination forms are quite less compared to that 15 million we're talking about. You understand? So they can start from there.
Okay. So let me ask a little bit. Let's delve a little away from the leadership crisis. We seem to have touched on that quite well. Let's talk about structure within the Labour. But we actually saw the kind of energy that Labour Party pulled at the polls. That narrative, a lot of people have changed. But let us talk about the aftermath of the election, putting aside whether you are satisfied with the result or not. Going forward, what is the Labour Party doing to ensure that its structure will stand firmer and stand the test of time?
The Labour Party was never seen coming. You know, when we went around the country canvassing for votes, for support, when the wave came, most of them who are 12 years saw it coming. Today, that structureless party has produced a governor in Abia State. It has produced 8 senators. It has produced 35, if not 36, federal House of Representative members. It has produced almost 70 state House of Assembly members, you know, and more to come. You know, like a mandate in Enugu State we reclaim in Kogi State. Sure, we're going to take those states and add to our structure. You know, we have our structure based from the unit to the ward level, but what the Labour Party does not have is this structure of criminality. Just like my principal will always say, my home local government, and I saw all that played out. You know, where there were financial inducements, you know, to even when there were financial crunches at that period, you know, we saw what played out, you know, we understand all that played out, you know, and our principal does not believe in things like that. He believes if I must win, you know, let me win fair and square. You know, let it be the people inside the name, His Excellency. The process that brought you into office must be excellent. You understand? So
Okay.
I want to say that we have structures and our structures are well written, but we don't have that structure of criminality. And I don't think we want to do that.
Okay, our time is up. I must say a very big thank you to you, but let me just remind you very quickly. I'm happy that you have said that, you know, you do not have the structure of criminality in the Labour Party, but then again, a lot of people rode on the integrity of the man Peter Obi to be where they are. These people that have been elected, I'm happy you've mentioned a whole lot of numbers that, you know, have formed the structure that Labour Party has today. But Nigerians will be watching to find out how Dawkins Lee Akpan, MNSE, member National Mobilization Directorate, Labour Party, and member Inter-Party Affairs Committee, Obidati Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time having you on set with us this morning. Do have a great day.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, and that's
structure that they do not have the structure of criminality. It's good to see that, like Kingsley said, they are not unwavered with that and looking out for if the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. And most Nigerians now believe that the Labour Party is the last hope of democracy in the country. But that's about the conversation we can have this morning. It's been a swell time. Thank you for being a part of Rise and Shine. My name is Uyai.
For your day, and trust us, we'll be bringing that conversation to you tomorrow when we come back again for another interesting edition of Rise and Shine Daily. Have a great day and do enjoy the rest of our programs. We'll leave you with Sports Central.